Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast.
When did you guys start to encounter some en route turbulence, if we'll call it that?
August 2013. I did a partial wheels up landing.
What happened?
So we did a schedule the morning of that, 2 days earlier to drop it off for maintenance. It had undergone hydraulic changes to the gear. They had looked at some pressurization issues. So then I drove from PE back to East London to go pick, because what happens is we do the flight to East London in the morning, drop the aircraft off, we drive back to PE. Aircraft spends 2 or 3 days at the maintenance organization. We drive to East London, pick it up, and then do a test flight and then bring it back to PE and then carry on with the operation. So at that stage, we'd be having some pressurization issues actually. So
Cabin pressurization.
Yeah,
issues.
it just wasn't holding the pressurization we wanted to. So it was under pressurizing a bit. So you had to fly a little lower and that. So nothing safety wise, just more comfort wise and that. So they'd fixed it and we'd had to take it up for a test flight. They'd also worked on the gear. They'd cycled the gear on the ground. They had no issues. So myself and the maintenance engineer at that stage, Dave Hart, flew with me.
He's also a commercial pilot. He flies. I met him years ago. That time he was flying Barons, Chieftains, all of that around.
Yeah, they own their own Chieftain. So we would actually use him when our aircraft went technical or something like that, or AOG, to fulfill the leg for the flight.
Or if it was in maintenance and you needed a backup.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually very smart, because I was thinking if the airplane went down for maintenance, when you only had one airplane.
Yeah, so we used him. We'd then just charter his aircraft for a day or two,
Okay.
So anyway, we took the aircraft up. At that stage, I'd been upgraded to captain a year and a half later. We took the aircraft up for a test flight. Pressurization was working well. We took it up to 20,000 feet, no issues. It worked great. So we came in, we were going to land, put the gear down. Nothing happened.
No noise, nothing.
Nothing happened.
Nothing at all.
So we're like, oh, okay. This is, cycled the gear lever a couple of times. I looked at Dave. Dave looked at me. We're like, oh, okay. This is an interesting situation,
But you got the alternate gear
Yeah,
extension.
we've got redundancies. We're like, okay, we're going to go sort it out. We chatted to ATC. We just told them we needed a block level just to, run through the checklist, sort it out, and see what we could do. So we ran through the checklist. So in the 4-4, it doesn't have like a manual gear extension. It's got a blowdown bottle. So you have a once-off shot to get the gear. So all the blowdown bottle really does is just releases the pins, the up locks that keep the gear up.
The pressure
And
just
then
pops them out.
and then what you do is with gravity, you just rock the wings and that just to lock them into place. So we ran the checklist. We used the gear extension. We heard the gear come out. So then we started rocking the wings, got the right main out, got the nose wheel out. Nothing happened with the left main.
So is the left main out?
No.
Oh, so it was still
Well,
locked
at
up.
that stage, we didn't know, because it doesn't show you if it's out or not. It just shows you
If it's
down and
locked.
locked or not.
Okay.
So we were like, okay, well, we're not sure. Maybe it's just struggling to, lock in place. So we tried a little bit more harsh maneuvers, just try to lock it out, and then we couldn't get it out. So we had 2 greens, which no pilot ever wants,
Yeah, that's not ideal.
So then we asked ATC to do a flight pass just to check, and they informed us that they can't see the left main at all. So we were like, okay, now we actually have a problem.
They can't see it at all.
No. So it's still up and locked.
And you can't retract the gear now, I would imagine.
No.
That gear's down.
No. Once you use the
Once you
blowdown
blow
bottle,
the blowdown bottle, it's
you have
done.
to sort everything out on the ground.
Yeah.
So so then we realized we actually have an emergency here. So we chatted to ATC. We told them, look, we have this problem. We are just going to chat about it in the air for a bit. So we spoke about it, Dave, between myself and Dave. And then we spoke to ATC and we asked them, do we have any schedules coming in? We don't want to block the runway if there's a guy that's going to land in 10 minutes because we've got like 2 hours of fuel still. So at that stage, I don't think there was any schedules coming in. But then we also opted to land on the cross runway because you've got the main runway.
Clear the main runway,
I think it's 1129 is the main runway and the cross is 18 or 17, I think. I can't quite remember. But anyway, so we spoke about it. The cross runway was more than long enough to land on, no issues there. So we said, okay, we're going to use this runway. So if we do stop on the middle of the runway, at least it's not the main runway,
Yeah. Very considerate.
Yeah, at the time. I mean, look, at the time, I didn't know much better. I'm a young pilot. Oh, this is an issue. Let's go land. And it happens. It happens.
We'll work it out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I look at myself now. I'm like, yeah, you're pretty stupid back then. But anyway,
we all learn.
Yeah, right. So we elected to basically shut both engines down on the flare just to try and preserve the engines if we could. I mean, the actual landing was basically uneventful, other than we had one wheel up.
Okay. So you did definitely,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had the right touchdown, the nose touchdown, and then the left wing touchdown. Sparks, noise, and I mean, for the most part, she stayed on the runway quite well until through about 20 to 30 knots. Then she started dragging off to the left because, just the friction of that. And the nose wheel wasn't the biggest nose wheel in the world. So I didn't want to snap it off by trying to maintain runway direction too much either. That's the other consideration I had. So we veered off into the grass and just ended up in the grass at East London. No fire, no issues, no injuries or anything like that. It was, like I said, other than the wheels up, it was a average landing,
Okay, so walk away from that one, brush yourself off.
Yeah, and unfortunately the aircraft was then down for, I think it was down for 3 months.
Okay.
4 months.
That's why you got insurance, right?
Yeah, it was down for a very long time. Because they had to send the engines for shock loading, they had to order new parts, you have to go through insurance, takes some time, so you have to investigate, takes some time. And unfortunately, through that, our company just lost a lot of traction that we have because, I mean, we couldn't use the other aircraft that we were operating because it was a short-term thing and it was too expensive, So
what was the other aircraft?
The Navajo that we were chartering when it was just going to be too expensive, unfortunately. So we lost a lot of traction and a lot of our name back then because every time someone wanted to book or phone in, we just said, look, we're unavailable at the moment. We'll be up and running in a few months,
Yeah.
So it never really recovered after that point, unfortunately.
So you did try to bring it back, though?
We did. I think she came back online February 2014. No, a little later than that, about March, April 2014. And we tried for about another 6 months or so. It didn't come back to where we wanted it to.
The charter's gone, passenger loads were like, what?
Minimal, 2. Yeah. If that, it was just you have an opportunity, and if you don't make your name for yourself when you have it, to recover, you basically have to throw the same amount of money in you did the first time, and that unfortunately wasn't in our budget. We didn't budget for a crash and having to sit on the ground and repair it and start again, which is effectively what we were going to do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So from that point, our aviation broker in Joburg, we were chatting to him about this as well. He said, look, why don't you bring the aircraft up to Joburg? There's a lot of flying up in Joburg. It's an opportunity to build time and maybe progress. And then that's what we did.
Yeah, there is a market up there for that. So you took the aircraft up to Joburg, but still operating under the Blue Crane umbrella?
We did operate for charters and that so we joined a company at that stage called Do Charter. They operated 2 King Air 200s on a, not a sublease, on a third-party charter, basically. They sub-charters is what it's called. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. So they basically just picked up charters from other companies that had overflow. They didn't do any marketing. He was very well known for that. The nice thing at that stage was he had a good name that he wouldn't try and poach clients.
Okay.
Because that was a big thing in Joburg at the time. If you have your clients, you can't fly them, you find another company to use, and that company just says, well, here's my card, fly directly with me, and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But so I joined that company with the 4-4, put it on their AOC under Blue Crane, and I started there, worked in the ops department there for a while, helped out there, became a quality manager for 6 months before he sold his AOC. And from there, I moved on to flying the 200 for the company.
So what happened to Blue Crane then?
So Blue Crane continued until 2020. We had the aircraft until 2019, late 2019, I want to say. We just chartered it up there. I wouldn't say it was overly busy, but there were charters. The shorter charters, whereas on the 200, you do a demurrage flight of 650 kilometers, which is expensive. the 4-4, we didn't have a demurrage, basically. It was a 250 Ks or something like that. So short sector, like to the Lowveld and that for 2 passengers. It worked out quite nicely.
Okay.
So I did a lot of charters through Blue Crane on the 4-4 up until about 2019, 2020.
And then what happened to the airplane?
We sold the aircraft. We sold it to a Zambian company, and they took it to a mine.
Why did you guys choose to sell the airplane if it was doing relatively well?
At that stage, I'd moved on to flying the 200 full-time and managing the 200 for an owner there full-time. So we didn't really need the aircraft anymore. We looked at putting another pilot on it, but at that stage, I didn't really know anyone. And also to have someone else now take over it, well, we didn't really know the people at the time, so it was difficult just to hand it over to someone else. And then also some of the investors were looking to try and get their money back out of it. So we sold the aircraft, and we basically paid the investors out.
Okay, so everybody walked away with what they put in.
Yeah, basically. They didn't really get a return on investment, but they didn't lose.
They didn't lose out of pockets.
Yeah.
So, Dav, having gone through this journey, you finished in 2019. You started, the idea was 2011. You kicked off in 2013.
2012.
2012. Yeah. If 2019 Daven could have 2012 Daven around the table, what advice would you have for him, and what would you do differently?
Don't break the aircraft.
Okay,
yeah. No, otherwise, we put a lot of work into the company at that stage. So I would have honestly just told him to stick with it. It is going to get better. Like I said, our projections are going well. If we hadn't done the wheels up landing, we could have had 3 or 4 aircraft operating to this day still. You don't, okay, maybe COVID would have done something differently. But
good point there.
COVID, it was a different story. But, we could have been operating up until COVID with a couple of aircraft, because, that was the long-term goal.
So the business idea was viable.
Yeah, it was 100%. It was going in the direction we wanted it to. It just, unfortunately, you got a spanner thrown in the works that we couldn't recover from.
And anything you would have done differently?
Probably not. I enjoyed what I did. It was a great experience. Lots of late hours, lots of early mornings. We got up at 3 a.m. to check bookings to see if there are bookings for the day, because we left the bookings open the whole night. And if there are bookings, we'd get going from 3 a.m.
Life of a pilot, eh?
Yeah, right.
Early mornings, late nights, it never ends. Blue Crane ends, they sold the airplane.
Yeah.
Power the investors. Imagine you closed the company.
Kept the company for a few years for business purposes. But yeah.
Where to from there?
I was flying the King 200 full time for the owner, and then I was doing charters on it. I was working with a company called Ep2. The King Air was on their AOC. We were flying predominantly hunting flying, but other charters and that. But the hunting flying kept us busy. The lady Anne at the time, she'd been operating for 40 years with her company, flying charters from guys from the US, Europe, South America. Very niche market what she offered. She offered a turnkey service from booking their airline tickets in the US to the hunting packages to accommodation to the airline tickets back to the US.
So safari trip.
100%, yeah. But doing everything. I loved it. Flew a lot of interesting people, flew a lot of celebrities, got to go to a lot of bush trips that raised some eyebrows, flew into some bush trips that they called airstrips but looked like roads, It was a lot of fun. I'd be doing this to this day if my owner didn't sell the aircraft during COVID. Unfortunately, again, COVID, made a pain in the ass. But yeah, from there, I got into flying a 1900 for a company called King Air Charter. Became a captain on that, flew for them as well quite a lot. Flew up until 2024 for them, basically on the 200 and their 1900. Like I said, my owner sold his aircraft in COVID. And from there, moved on to flying for an airline, the ERJ 145, did that for a year and a half. Resigned from there, and then I'm immigrating to Canada now to go as a direct entry captain on a Dash 8.
So that would have piqued the ears of, I'm sure, a few people listening. Canada. It's not typically, we often hear about pilots to Africa. They're going to go to Cathay, they're going to go to Emirates, fly to Dubai, Qatar, the desert. Not many people heading out that side to Canada. How did that whole opportunity unfold for you?
So, I mean, I did my FAA license in 2022. 2023. I did it in 2023, May of 2023. At that stage, I was wanting to work for a company called Cape Air in the US. You needed an FAA. I met all the hour requirements. You get your FAA, you apply to them, and the company sponsors you a green card. You work for them for a year, and then you can go work for anyone in the US that you want to. Unfortunately, when I started applying, the wait time for the green card or the whole application process became 2 to 2.5 years. Initially, it was a 12-month process, and then I don't know the whole ins and outs of it, but basically it became a 2 to 2.5 year process at that stage. So I'd done my FAA, and I decided maybe I'm going to hang around here for a little longer. Met my girlfriend, later became my fiance, and she wasn't interested in the US at all. She says, no, not the US.
Her, hey?
No, I'm like, but the US, for me, it's an amazing opportunity. So she said no. So I said, okay, let's start looking elsewhere. Where can we look? I looked at Ireland, another nice place to work at. I'd have to do my EASA license. I looked at that. I was like, no, I've just done my FAA. That was a process. I'm not going to do another 16 exams. Where else can we go, So Canada became another option because of my fiance's profession. And for me, because I had an FAA license, to convert it to a Canadian license wasn't the hardest thing in the world. One exam of 25 questions, it was quite easy actually. There were a few other boxes you had to tick if you were current on your type-rated aircraft. If not, you'd have to go to training, and that if you were, you could just apply, which I was. So luckily, it was a very quick exercise. Not cheap, but quick.
And if Canada wasn't an option, and say if Wenso was open to going to the States, then would it just have been a matter of time waiting for the green card to come through?
Yeah. That basically would have just been, okay, we apply now. It's going to take 2 years. Carry on with your life for the next 2 years. Join a company, join an airline, or, do what you want to, but you will get it in about 2 to 2.5 years.
Can you expand a bit on that program for someone that might be interested in going that way?
So it's called, the company's called Cape Air. They fly 402s. They do island hopping basically in the Caribbean and Florida. That's what I got a mate that flew for them for a year, and he's moving on to I want to say Spirit, but it's not Spirit. He's moving into another airline. He spent his year at Cape Air, got his green card, and now he could do corporate, he could do airlines. So he's gone the airline route.
Fantastic.
He enjoyed the flying at Cape Air. It's basically a full service. You have ground handlers. You just fly the aircraft. You go from A to B. Everybody helps you on the ground. You climb back in. You go back. It's not charter. It's almost like a schedule. And it's amazing. He was staying in the Caribbean for I think 6 months, and that get to see a bit of the world, and you don't get paid too badly.
And what are the application requirements?
You need 1,500 hours total time. You need your FAA license. That's a given. It's a deal breaker. You can apply and tell them, if I go do my FAA, am I employable? And they can take it from there. But you can't apply without your FAA. It's impossible. They won't look at you. You need, I think, 1,000 hours PRC time. I think the requirement is 1,000, and an FAA medical.
Multi-engine turbine, anything?
I can't remember the multi-engine time. Not turbine. I think there might have been 500 hours multi-engine, but I know the big stickler was 1,000 hours PRC time, because you'd have to come and they'd basically have to train you, and you climb in the left-hand seat and off you go. There was no babysitting. There was no time to get it acclimatized to it. They expected you to rock up and be able to fly as a PRC.
So for someone that's looking for an opportunity abroad, maybe going into the States, that could be a viable option.
Yeah, look, it is an option. It does cost a fair amount of money. You're looking at up to about R500,000 for the green card process, because everything's in dollars, unfortunately. So I think they have different packages. They had 3 levels. When I looked at it, you pay up front, pay it off in 6 months, or pay it off over your year. You'd have to chat to the company about that. But there are different options. Yeah, there are payment options. It's not a fly-to-pay company. I just want to clarify that. It's just for the visa application. It's
Yeah,
the lawyer fees.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
Eh?
No.
Lawyers aren't cheap,
No, unfortunately not.
especially not in the US. I have no doubt.
But for like a younger guy, I would definitely say that they should maybe have a look at it if they want to, especially if they are looking at like the US. It's a great place to fly as a pilot. You can pick the company, the aircraft you want to work for. Requirements are a lot less to fly a bigger aircraft than, say, in South Africa. So, yeah.
You really enjoyed the bush flying.
I love the bush flying. I'd do it in Canada if
you
I had. I don't know if I don't want to say if I had the opportunity, but if my opportunity that I got didn't come up, I would probably have gone there and then look for a bush job. I love the bush flying. Seat of your pants, have to make last minute decisions. There's no one to lean on. It's you, what's on the runway, and you have to make a decision.
With the bush flying, you said you met some celebrities in your time there. Anyone that people listening to this might know or recognize?
Some of them I can't name. Some of them have got movies that are impossible.
Yes.
So flew Grand Tour guys around in Botswana. Spent a couple of days with them.
The Top Gear guys.
Yep, flew all three of them.
Clarkson and the bunch.
Yeah, all three of them.
What was that like?
It was great. We were actually doing a different charter at the time to a place called Karawi Mine. We'd spent the night there because we'd ran out of FDP and then we were flying back the next day. And that morning they basically said, cool, we've got another charter for you guys. Do you guys mind picking these guys up to bring back to Joburg? We're like, yeah, that was in the 200. We're like, no problem. So we went, refueled back at Maun. Then we went to a place called Jack's Camp. We landed, unfortunately, those sort of times, we also didn't have communication with our ops once we're in foreign countries because we weren't given phones and we're not paying roaming for ourselves, So we landed at Jack's Camp and the guard that came to pick us up said, no, you have to come to the camp. You guys are staying. We're like, okay, this sounds a little weird because we were told we were coming back today. So no, we get to the camp. We see the guys there, James May, Jeremy Clarkson, and Richard Hammond. They're having a good time. So they're like, come have a drink with us, guys. We're like, no, we're flying you back now. So they're basically saying, no, you're not. We're like, what do you mean?
We're drinking beer.
Yeah. So it turns out they basically said to us, no, go chat to our PA, very lovely lady. So we spoke to her. So she basically said, the flight has been delayed or cancelled. I can't remember the time, their BA flight back to wherever they were going. And they want to spend the night here again instead of at a hotel. And she asked, are you guys happy with it? We're like, yes. We weren't going to argue,
No, heck no.
So we spent the night there and flew them out the next day, basically.
What are they like?
They are a lot of fun. They're very funny. Very, very funny.
So the on-screen persona is very much how they are.
Yeah, even
off
screen when they relaxed and having a beer and some food and chilling. And
so it's all genuine.
Yeah, very friendly to chat to. They, yeah.
What a fantastic experience. I mean,
yeah, I get to stay in a 5-star bush camp, in the middle of Botswana. I got to tick off meerkats on my bucket list. Got to see some meerkats.
Yeah.
Wild meerkats. You basically go sit by their dens and that, and they come stand on you because you're the tallest point in the area. It's kind of cool.
Now, Dave, before we wrap up for the day, someone listening to this podcast, youngster, struggling to get a break, as it may be, thinking about doing what you did, starting up their own operation. Any advice for that person?
Think about it carefully. It's a long process and it's an expensive process. I mean, it's doable, but if you have the right market, but it is a very long process. There's no quick ways to do it.
So there's no quick ways to success in aviation?
No, especially aviation. You know the rules and regs. It's especially dealing with regulators. You submit stuff and it takes forever to get back.
Yeah, bureaucracy is great, eh?
Yeah.
No shortcuts there unless you know the right people.
I would recommend, if the guys have the opportunity to do bush flying or charter flying, do it. It's something you won't get out of an airline. If you have the opportunity to get into an airline, I would also say go for it. It's great. If you're young, you'll be a captain by the time you at a big airline, 35, 40, and you're set for life. But if you do have the opportunity to do charter flying or bush flying, it's an experience not a lot of people ever get to see. Good experiences, bad experiences, but it's an experience. I mean, I've stayed at some of the most expensive places in Africa to stay at, and I'd never be able to afford that.
most memorable experience in your time in South Africa before you move abroad?
Flying wise, well, I got 2. Flying in the DRC in 2023, December. We flew the current president around there for a while. That was an eye-opener how the rest of the world operates. Then also getting detained in South Sudan. That was an experience in my younger life. I had very little hours, knew nothing about aviation, and just managed to get onto a charter for a caravan. They needed basically a ferry pilot, co-pilot. Eventually got detained in South Sudan for 2 days. Very interesting experience. Nothing crazy, but again, at that stage, you don't know what's happening. So
They put you in the chickie or what?
No. I sat with a guard watching Netflix for a day before they let me go, and then I missed my flight, so I had to book me on another flight. The next one was only 2 days later. So
Why were you detained?
I didn't clear in. At that stage, we'd met the handler on the ground. I mean, we'd flown for a very long time straight. I won't air what we did do.
It was long.
It was very long, very, very, very long. Outside of regulatory hours, but it was long. And the handler, when we landed base, it was like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. when we got there, basically said, no, go sleep it off when customs isn't here and immigration isn't here. When they're open, I'll bring you back to clear in. My first basically international flight. I don't know. Okay, you live here. You know what to do. Off I go to the crew room, slept the night, woke up. They took us in at about 10 a.m., handed our passport in. The guy looked at it and said, where's your stamp in? I said, I'm here to get it in. He's like, no, but you came from that side. You're supposed to come from that. Like, no, explain to and he just looked at me and said, that's not on. I'm like, I just looked at the hand and said, you talk to him. I don't know what was happening, and just went downhill from there.
Was it all part of the plan?
No.
Part of their plan, maybe?
Maybe their plan, yeah.
Okay.
But eventually, the company got fined and eventually everything got sorted out. So
Fined.
Yeah.
Nice
so
way
they
to put it.
Yeah.
Dav, thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm glad it's something we could do before you go.
Yeah, man. Glad I could get to see your studio. It looks amazing.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it's going to take off quite nicely.
And we just want to wish you all the best for your next big adventure in Canada. I know it's must be daunting to be uprooting your entire life to a foreign country where I imagine you don't know terribly many people.
No, not at all.
Being the kind of person that you are, and the entrepreneur and the sense for adventure you clearly have, no doubt it's going to be a massive success. And we wish you all the best on our side. And we hope we can have you get on the show when you visit in New York too.
Yeah, or, do a podcast via online Teams or something, in a year or so.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. All the best and make the best of it.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.
Have a good one.